Hi, you guys. Rebecca here, Sirius Blue, and welcome back for episode 6 of the Bringing Light to the Darkness series. Wow, because we're going into satanic ritual in context of mind control and as a mind control technology, and holding a lot of light as I work my way through this video today with you. First, I'll say thank you for your response to the Mars video. Thank you so much, and for following along as I've gone through, this time since the end of May when I started these videos. I've had so much beautiful support, and I'm really grateful to you for that. I also I was a guest on Super Soldier Talk with James Rink just a few days back. I will post that in the I'll post that link below for you if you're interested in checking that out. So I had to laugh too, because I think in the end of the last video I'd said I hope to be back in less than 3 weeks, and I think we're just about going up into 3 weeks, and it's been a busy time and a lot's been coming through for me, and I respect that. If I can't get any faster than that, that's okay. I've also got a busy client schedule, and I'm grateful for that. So I wonder how you guys are doing, and the topic is a difficult one to hold, and going in slowly here and keeping it, of course, relevant really to my own experience. That's what brings me to the table today to talk about it. Is it's part of my own story. And of course, as I've said all along, if we don't bring these things out of the shadow of our own psyche and actually into public discourse, because they kind of belong to the collective, anything of this magnitude that's been going on a long time becomes part of our collective shadow. And so that's, I'm always trying to bring light to those dark places that, in a sense, we've all experienced, even though hopefully you listeners aren't too many among you who have experienced some satanic ritual abuse, but still that scar and that wound has putrefied maybe something or damaged something in the collective psyche of our world, hiding in the shadows for so long in plain sight. So that's again why this feels important to me, because there's so much shift happening on our planet right now, especially with things going on with children. I probably said that too since episode 1 here of my video series, and that's a big motivator. When I talk about some of the things I'm going to speak of today, it's like sitting here now, I can feel the great clarity and peace of mind that it actually brings me, fulfilling something inside of me that wants to be a speaking voice as an adult now for the children who were experiencing these things back in the 70s and 80s and before and after, and for a very long time, and also now. Can we be a voice for the voiceless and help them heal by helping ourselves heal? I say that for myself, bringing light into my life. There's a ripple effect to all, whatever our individual healing work is, whether it's related to this particular kind of, trauma-based mind control, or anything. You might think it's something really mundane that you're struggling with in your life, and that's been maybe debilitating to you on some level, and that's very important work. So no matter what the context is in which we find ourselves on our own healing path, it's important to be tending that now, and with gentleness and care as we tend ourselves. So yeah, holding this in light as I move forward. And I do know that more and more stuff is the troubled matter and material of our the psychic shadow is coming into surfacing. I was kind of shocked when I saw that adrenochrome was being featured on national news broadcasts in Turkey and Bulgaria. I had to research that to really see it myself and go, no way. that would bring down the house in the US if mainstream media was airing anything like a segment on adrenochrome. How interesting. But are we ready? Maybe we are. So, wow, thank you for being with me. It blesses me so much. And I may do what I did in episode 1 and ask for your hand once or twice. I could be brave and not do that, but why do that? I think I've developed a team of willing handholders for when I get a little bit or a lot shaky on this end of the camera. So, and I appreciate that. Everybody has really supported me to just be myself, and I know I bring more of the maybe the emotional. I share a lot more about my emotional process as I've gone through these videos with you. And it's because it's alive for me, and maybe that helps somebody else. And it creates an aliveness in the dialogue or the monologue here. It's a one-sided, one-way street, but I know you're participating in your own way, and I appreciate that. But maybe it helps somebody else, my approach. So, thank you. And having a breath as I bring it in a little more personally to my own experience. There's a couple kinds of satanic ritual abuse. I'm going to talk mostly today about the high-tech sort of military usage of satanic ritual in mind control programming. There's also, and probably much more importantly, is the fact that this stuff is generational, and it's ancient generational bloodline kind of it's passed down from generation to generation, and people within the family don't even know it's there. They seem like upstanding citizens. They seem like they have everything together. They could be bankers and lawyers and doctors, and no one, the neighbors next door, would ever know what they were really up to. So that other kind, this is the hard part. It's not the other stuff about the military that I'm going to talk about. It's this part is like making me like seize up, and it's in my mother's side of the family. And I'm having, that's what I'm actually processing very actively right now. And I'm like in these occasional walls of cognitive dissonance that make me go, what the F are we effing looking at right here? Even though my memories and repeated visions and all the information I'm getting, everything lines up, but I'm still, after how many years, I'm trying to sidestep. So I'm not going to go, because it's still fresh, and I'm like, whoa, I am not going to, and I also just don't want to bite off too much and be like, freak out, and suddenly I'm not in my chair, I'm like on the floor or something. You're like, where's our host? She had to call a crisis line. Okay. Bringing it back home. So but I can more readily talk about this military variety. And frankly, it has opened up much more recently than the other stuff for me. At the end of June, in fact, so it's just been not even 2 months that this has come up, and I'm going to tell you all about how it came up. Yeah, just pausing there. Wow. Okay, and me with my notes in case I go blank. Deer in the headlights. Hasn't happened yet, but I guess I need a little crutch. So back to the show in June. It was a radio show with Misha Johnston, and at the end, it was a secret space panel, secret space program women's panel, and I was just one of 3 guests on the show with her. And one of the last questions Misha asked. End of the show was, had you ever seen a child sacrificed? Yeah, and about, I could feel my heart like beginning to race at that point. Heart's like pounding, and then like there's this adrenaline going through me, and I can see things and remembering things that, yes, have been there. And then I'm like, she's, question, she's kind of going around the group, and she comes to me and she goes, "What about you, Rebecca?" And I'm like, "I don't really know. I can just, my heart's kind of racing right now." And she says, "Okay, well, you know, that's all right. I didn't go into anything, but about the call ended, and it went well as it could. It was, she's a friend of mine. I appreciated being on the show with them. After that, I'm like probably 6 or 8 minutes after the call ends, I'm feeling so anxious. I'm kind of freaking out. And I just sit down. I just started sobbing, started crying. And what happened? The memory field of something opened up. And I knew what was happening, and I could feel, retrieving, these data packets of memory that were coming in. And I'll take you back again for context to the Montauk Project, the cages that I was kept in there. Listen to video 3 if you have not done that. That will give you all the preamble you need to put this in the place in my story. Yeah, and I'm just pausing. It's kind of, not terribly graphic, you guys, but it might disturb you. So just for a few seconds, if you want to dim your audio for yourself, you can do that. And of course, making sure there's no children in earshot of this video, please. When we were in the cages, I remember being in the bottom cage in the lab, and they would come in, and it was like a lottery, and they would pick a number. You'd be assigned, you had a number in there, and they would be picking a number, or maybe just once, maybe, however many for that particular evening. And it was terrifying because we didn't know if we would be given ice cream or executed. And the executions of the other children, they would do in front of us. And that was part of breaking the mind and helping you to live in terror. So, and at times we would just be taken out for an experiment, but we just didn't know what would happen, if you were going to live or die. And like ice cream, I don't remember eating much, but if they were to give us that, it would be like, all-time high. Like, they'd be your savior. And I think about, what is that like for a child undergoing that? Day after day, day after day. So I can also see why that was hidden from my memory bank, and why I you can feel that, can't you? Why that would be blocked out, why our most traumatic memories really blocked out. But it came back, and I thanked Misha later for asking the question. We were on another call for something, and I told her what happened. And wow, really? This is just the beginning, you guys. That was just the backstory. So just holding light for going back in time, and holding light for all of us there, and all the children who have experienced this, the lottery system of life and death, and the ones who didn't make it out of that. So many kids there died. We were expendable, and we were disposable. Of course, the ones they wanted to keep were the ones with psychic abilities. The rest could be fodder, for experiments, and for, what I mentioned, the programming related to death and execution. So remember too that they were, within Montauk, they're doing experiments to investigate the nature of time, and how the past could be changed using portals, and also predicting the, probable outcomes for the future, and so on. This was part of what they were doing. But I feel like in so many ways, that was a front for the more important work of developing like Montauk mind control programming, furthering the MK ultra trauma-based mind control technologies there. So yeah, please just go back and listen to video 3, which is also, it's likewise held in as much light as you can, given the subject matter. Ooh, thank you. Okay, that was the first bit that, see, somebody just has to ask the right question, right? And then it's like, what I do is I avoid asking myself questions. I've done that my whole life, but even now it's like, oh, mother's family stuff. Oh, I'm not asking questions, right? That's changed, but we're adept at hiding things from ourselves, and there's a reason for that. We want to avoid some of the darkest stuff in our mind is adept. I mean, when they are vetting kids for these programs, they want children who can dissociate, and I read that dissociative tendencies run in families. Well, why is that? I think dissociative tendencies tend to run in families where there's been an awful lot of sexual abuse from generation to generation. So I don't think it's random that dissociative mechanism is inherited. I think cycles of abuse tend to go on and on and on until somebody in the bloodline wakes up and says, no, I see you, to all the dark entities that are running the show in the family. Anyway, I'll move on from that into the next aspect of this. So that is what else was unlocking as I went through the days following this, the initial kind of meltdown after the radio interview. I had been in those projects, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in this episode, but my left eye and left side of my brain had implants and things wired into them. And over time, my guides have done a lot to liberate the eyeball itself and as it connects back into the pineal. And I was sitting in bed one morning, and I was being given again the different sacred geometries and instructed intuitively to let them expand through the retina and back into the skull. And then you can connect that, of course, with the universal mind through the pineal gland. And I was just resting, enjoying that. They'll expand through your whole body. They're living light forms with consciousness. The geometric forms, often called sacred geometry. I'm very fond of the dodecahedron and the stellated dodecahedron and the icosahedron. Anyway, in the middle of that, I received a vision. It was like, bam, very clear out of nowhere. A man I didn't know, but a very distinctive visage, very distinctive features. Well, one distinctive features, pointy eyebrows, gray hair. I didn't know who he was. I just knew he was from my abilities. My other sight told me he was a Satanist. This is kind of weird. Didn't really ring a bell right away at all. I thought there's something to this because I'm not liking the feeling of this. Like why is it coming up as in the middle of this? Like I'm seeing this guy pop up in my field of left eye vision. I don't like that at all. Well, I'll come back to him. I will come back to him. I will not leave him out. And I don't know that I'm going to mention his name. I will give you lots of clues in a minute. So after he came in, I kind of shrugged it off, and I proceeded to get a long-channeled download about satanic ritual and the reversal of the life codes. The life codes being maybe shorthand or my personal dictionary that is really talking about sacred geometry and the mathematical principles that express universal life. universal building blocks of like these geometric fractals that are the building blocks of matter throughout the universe. And again, we commonly call that sacred geometry, sacred geometric forms, the sphere, the cube, the tetrahedron, the octahedron, and as I mentioned, the dodecahedron, the icosahedron, and even more than that. You can have stellated varieties and duals of those, and all kinds of formations. But they're basically, if we look in our DNA, we will see those living light forms. Yeah, and in fact, this is, you guys will laugh. Where I look at my screen here, about where my left eye often looks, this is taped. So it's just a little reminder. Always in the process of undoing what has been done and putting in what has been taken out by others along my journey. So what happens then in a satanic ritual? In essence, if we're talking about the reversal of life code, geometry, mathematical expressions of co-creative life itself, you end up with death codes and creating a person that is cut off from source, cut off from co-creative capacity and severed from the life force. That person is then controllable. You're introducing distortions of many kinds into their field so that you can feed on them. You can then have their life force yourself. These are I'm talking about the perpetrators, those carrying out the satanic ritual. So I'll go more into that here briefly too in a moment. One of the symbols I was shown, of course, in an easy one within context of the channel and the download I was receiving was the star, the 5-pointed star, which, like if we take ancient Ayurveda, we would say, the 5 points of the star represent the 5 elements of life: air, earth, fire, water, ether, expressions of the life force. But in Satanism, and you guys probably know this, the inversion of that star, the pentagram, is everywhere in satanic symbolism. You might say, what's the difference? Well, it's about intent. They're taking the heavenly forces, if we say that the star upright points into the upper realms. They're taking the main feature of the point and inverting it down into the lower realms, which is where they derive their power, which can be used in service to self, personal power, personal gain. So once again, it's all about the co-opting of our sovereign and co-creative consciousness. And there's a lot to it. It's a very, like satanic ritual is a very, it's been developed over millennia, and I believe goes back into ancient Egypt and beyond. That's my intuitive sense. Probably ancient Mesopotamia. Let me look. I mean, it's really hard to trace back the roots and was it always called Satan? But the place and time where powers that be, the power over structure was becoming more prevalent. Power over, a ruler over someone else, and using different, I guess I would say, introducing some distortions into the divine practices of connecting to the higher realms and using them for self. So, boy, like I said, there's an enormous amount to it. And I'm no expert, but I just say from my own experience and what I've seen and noticed, especially with the psychic site, what I've been given regarding that. And then Tyrion, my mate from the Light Alliance that I spoke of in episode 4 of this video series, he proceeded to give me a download. Also, I got a lot. It was one morning, my God, about, I guess we could say, the weaponization of human sexuality. He said, you humans don't, he's from Procyon. He said, humans don't necessarily recognize the power they have in their own sexuality. And by that, he means and meant the co-creative center. If we think about the sacral plexus and how that's connected to co-creative fire and vision, self-actualization, the ability to create and manifest. We might say that's a seat of a lot of things. And when I say sexuality, I don't necessarily mean, because we'll often think about, well, how is sex portrayed to us? What do we grow up with thinking sexuality is about? And it's really been profaned, taken out of the sacred intentionally by the matrix, reversed and distorted and given to us. This is what you have to work with. And how many of us don't have some kind of sexual distortion, or the way we relate to our, I don't want to say power because that's going to give it another layer of distortion in the conventional sense, not power, but personal empowerment through co-creative expression, however you interpret that. So it's interesting how, and I had noticed this too, but I appreciated his kind of outside view perspective on humans. And he said, if humans would take back the world if they understood that it was so much about their life force was wrapped up in that, and our way of, I guess the words keep coming to me as co-creative expression, co-creative empowerment of sovereignty, sovereign self. So I really appreciated everything I got that morning, and things I had sensed, but they became, again, very lucid and articulate to me. I don't know if I'm bringing proper articulation here to it, because it's hard to find language, and also to find words that aren't loaded. As we talk about, sexuality in human terms, but it's something I had really looked into before, and other guides in my higher self had shown me, how much perversion has been, and just distortion, degradation is what I mean, into that arena for us over time. Yeah, I'll leave that there. Just a lot of helpful information came in to sort of corroborate what I had already seen. So going back to the man I'd seen in the vision, I said I think that I had to look him up. I'll give you his initials, M.A., and he is prominent, or was a prominent lieutenant colonel in the army, and head of numerous PSYOP divisions within the Army, covert ops, starting in the late 60s, I believe, and going probably, I think he was retired involuntarily in 1990 or so, I want to say. But however, he was also the founder of the Temple of Set, a well-known Satanist, and proud of that fact in the military. So I think at one point he had also written the chaplain's handbook for, I don't know if it was for the Army or what. I think it might have just been for a certain span of years there in the Army. Not entirely sure, but oh God, I can feel my heart beating a little bit here. I knew something was coming. I knew that wasn't the end of this guy. He came in for a reason. I was well clear of that, and I avoided it for a few days. And then I remembered what happened. It was one morning again. Mornings are when I'm tuned in the most with the other world and the sort of unseen realm, the multidimensional universe, let's say. And so it's thundering out. I cannot believe that. We are in a drought here, and it's about to rain. Oh my God. It's thunder. And I speak on here. a memory field opened up that I saw that he was one of my main programmers within Montauk. And I saw what happened there. And holding this in light, holding this in light, holding this in light, and bringing light to what I'm going into here. Just pausing to hold that light together. And you can certainly take my hand if you like. I'm feeling a little bit, yeah, that. So when this started to come through, I was curled up on the floor and kind of rocking back and forth. And I had the worst meltdown, maybe the best, you know, depending on how you want to look at it, that I've had since I started working with all this heavily in the past couple of years. And I had regressed back to the child that experienced these things, this rocking and wailing and fairly hysterical, not really intelligible. And I recorded this so that I would have it on record, because sometimes things like this happen once in a while. And I kind of, there's a part of me that doesn't want to believe it's true. I recorded it, so I had it on record, and I sent it to a friend who has been with me during this time of kind of intense unfolding. And I saw the rituals. I saw that what was done. We would be taken out of the bays from the cages at intervals. We were drugged and we were sodomized. And taken out into the woods. And rituals were performed, which would culminate in a child being sacrificed. So it's holding light. Holding light like a candle in this darkness. There's a lot of fire torches they would have out there in the woods, and they still activate me when I see those little tiki torches. I don't know if they're like Hawaiian barbecue thing, and I'm like, totally. Oh, those are satanic ritual lights. Oh, so I just got to dive in here. I remember they were sacrificing, it seemed to me, and this wasn't just once, it was many times, different rituals, mostly boys, and I don't know if they had a better adrenochrome product. I remember how it felt like I couldn't tell whether I was the boy on the altar being eviscerated, with his guts spilling out and screaming in pain as he was still alive. I didn't know if I was watching from above, probably disembodied, not with myself, or if I was just me watching. And we were also numb, the kids that we were out there. We'd already been through so much horror, and we didn't know if we kind of I wished I would just die. I wished they would just take me, but I didn't want to die like that. I just wanted it to be fast and painless. But what they want to do is prolong the death, because the more they prolong the terror for the child and all of us, the more they can feed on the psychic energy and the life force energy that's being produced in those moments of terror, particularly before the little boy is being sacrificed. All of your life force energy is going into, I'm going to die, I need to survive. You're in abject terror the moment before your life ends, before you're gutted. I know that's disturbing. It's a lot to hold. and taking this and offering it up as a light, bringing light into these horrible places that no one's really, so hard to talk about. And thank you for journeying with me into this place with our light. So we were made to be feel as if we were complicit in the operation. So part of it is, part of their distortion code and their programming is that you can't tell if you were the perpetrator or the victim. In other words, they want you to feel like you caused the death and that it was your fault. This boy died because of you. Why didn't you volunteer to die? And then there was a further element of cannibalism in which we were made to consume. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. So this is a lot to hold. You're hearing difficult information. And it is true information. And it is information that is in one form or another a vignette, story, a piece of our collective trauma that's been going on for a long time. More and more is coming to light, and more of it is being cleared and healed so this planet can be liberated from the dark forces and the cabal that's been running all this and pushing us into their ideology of the New World Order for a long time. But more and more people are waking up, and we are part of that. So thank you for listening through that. Thank you. And again, nothing else graphic particularly here moving forward. That is the worst you're going to hear on this video. That's about all I want to say on all of that. Not entirely, as far as the implications of that are important context. But I feel like it's important to share the details, not to be grotesque or to terrorize people, but to reveal the truth. If I just said there was a satanic ritual in the woods, it wouldn't be enough. I have to say what's true. It's my job. So, and I know when I first learned of this, this stuff, I didn't believe it was true. I had, again, cognitive dissonance to the nth degree and the 100th order. You know, I could not compute. I know even just around 5 years ago, I was on a phone call with a friend in the Northwest who was talking to me about her father being a high-level Freemason who would take her to rituals where she was hung. Now, if you're familiar with my first video, that has personal significance for me. At the time, I was still in denial about what that meant, and I didn't believe her. However, on the phone with her, I was starting to pass out. I was getting really woozy and the floor was dropping out and I had to get off the call and my legs buckled under me. My knees would not support me and I was on the ground. And still, I did not believe this stuff was true. Even though my soma, my physical response, my body was telling me this is all true and it pertains to you. I still turned the other way. It took me a couple more years to get to it. So I get it if this is, most of you have been red-pilled to a certain point to end up pressing the play button on a video like this, but maybe not everybody. So if it comes as news, I get it. You might be tempted to say this isn't real and it's not happening in our world. I understand that, and there's room for that too. Yeah. And if that's true for you, and you're new to this information, I really thank you for watching and listening today. So again, bringing it back to the context of this being a military mind control operation, why was the military engaged in this? Why? You can see I'm rocking. It's very comforting. That's what my little child does when she needs comfort. That's what I did in the cages. And I'm really hoping my mic is not delivering all the thunder going on here. So, okay. Military has wanted to exploit whatever means they can to further mind control programming objectives, trauma-based mind control, to develop, furthering the objectives of the original MK Ultra back in the early 50s. This is just carried on. This would have been, what I'm speaking of is the 76, 7, 8, let's say late 70s. Yeah. But that's why I, because at first I was like, well, why is the military embedded with this whole thing with the colonel and having him come in to do? I think he was cloned. So he was a traveler and he went, thousands of people probably could say the same thing. He was my main programmer. His face horrifies me. I can't look at it. And wow, that this was so, you see the efficacy of their technology, in which I had zero access to these horrible things that had happened to me. We could say they did their job because it wasn't really bothering me overtly. I was really cut off. It rocked my world. It rocks my world every time something comes in that I have been so completely oblivious to, like the memory packet coming in about all this data just dropping out of the psyche and my subconscious when I was ready and when certain things had lined up, boom, 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 a domino effect. Because you see the organic nature of it unfolding for me. At least this is how things have gone for me in my own memory retrieval. And of note, remember I spoke earlier about my father's death really bringing in a tidal wave of memory. He died earlier this year. Well, as I did my research on MA, after seeing his vision open up, his visage, his face, it was just then that news was circulating online that he had died. I don't think that's coincidences. When your handler or programmer dies, things start rattling free. It becomes safe for some part of the psyche then to know, because they can't come after you. It's just this something in the child's psyche who has been trained to keep things at bay somehow becomes liberated. And the truth is set free inside of your mind. I think it's beautiful. Going back into the left and right eye, I'd said I'd had some, they had co-opted this side and wired things into the left eye, all for psychic control, to control the psychic capacities and so that they would be able to see directly what I was seeing, and on and on and on. And there's a lot to that. If you've listened to the other videos, you'll know that. But within context of, the base, the cages, and all of that, there was another kind of programming they did that was satanic, and it was strapping me into immobilizing me in like a sort of almost like a reclining chair or something, kind of metalish thing, and with these goggles. And in the left side, it was really high tech, but in the left eye was all this numerology codes and satanic symbols that would flash at high speed with a strobe, left eye. And at the same time, at also very rapid speed in the right eye, they were flashing murders and torture and slaughter and execution in the right eye. And part of that was so you would lose, again, they're programming you and fracturing you. They're wanting you to lose touch with what is real and what is virtual. So you don't know what's the difference. Is a little boy on the altar, is that me? Who is me? Am I up there? Am I down here? So it's totally dislocating you from sense of self and reality. That is so important to what they're doing. They're also dislocating, they're severing connections in the brain also, and creating, person A who doesn't know person B within the same person, like the same psyche. It's all to do with mind control programming and psychic fracturing. So, wow, and isn't that a lot of mileage to get out of one question asked in an actually a radio interview? Wow. What else? I need to pause for, this is a lot. I want to ask how everybody's doing. What I would say is that all of this has opened up my life enormously. And when I said, it was the worst episode I ever had of just hysteria. I'd never gotten hysteria like that. And it wasn't me, it was Kid Me, one of the child me's. Speaking in a child voice, in fact. No, this isn't real. It couldn't have happened. Who is that? Is that me? Who is that? What happened? They're going to come after me. This isn't real, but in a very amped up voice, like on the verge of just total breakdown. But what I have been able to see firsthand is how when we go into the darkest dark of our own material, whatever it is, the things that we hold at bay, so as not to cause ourselves pain, or that we might be afraid of knowing the truth. That stuff is the stuff that liberates our life, because my life is completely opened up. Like I don't have words to describe it, like how quickened in life force energy I am as a result of this actually coming into my field. And I have that one question and that one interviewer to thank. I wasn't probably ever going to come around and ask myself about the sacrifices I saw. I needed somebody else. Flip the switch. Ooh. What else? I'm going to wrap up here, not too long, probably getting long-winded. Healing and talking about the other aspects of self. Early in the spring, this is really touching and beautiful, actually, part of my story. Bear with me. Early in the spring, I'd had a very, very lucid dream about an altar or a piece of me, a girl that is me, showing up in the night. She's freckled and kind of got glasses, and I don't recognize her at all, but I know she's me. I can only really register her. I can't quite, her body is like blurry below the neck, and I know she's been sodomized and raped repeatedly. And she's just happy and doesn't know what's happened to her. She wants to make nice and be accommodating for everyone. Has no personal will, has no real she doesn't know. This has all happened to her, but she doesn't recognize herself. She doesn't know she's carrying all this. She just wants to be accommodating. And then this summer, she started coming to me in my meditation. And she's actually the one that experienced these things that I'm talking about today. When I first saw her more clearly in meditation, she came in unannounced, but I knew who she was, and I knew she was coming. I get an intuitive like precognizance when something's going to happen. Like I knew the vision. I knew shit was hitting the fan with the kernel, even before it got here. So I knew she was coming. Then at some point, she was getting close, And when I saw her, I was just. If you think I cry a lot, I do. Not in a bad way. I mean, the tears are liberating. The tears in our emotion are beautiful. I welcome them. I cry because she seemed and seems autistic or mentally disabled, handicapped, her eyes are kind of crossed and blind behind the glasses, so her vision's not good. And she doesn't see me at all, even though she's there with me and my energy, my vision is reading her, and she's kind of, I think she knows somebody's there. She doesn't see me. She's quite oblivious, and she very, very much lives in her own world, and her world seems on the surface to be happy. And she would stamp her feet and kind of do these little happy circles and kind of humming to herself, rocking a little bit. And she's about 7. And it was then I could see everything that they did to her. I could see everything. And it just brought, I just wanted this. It's me. to hold her close and never leave her out of my sight. I can't explain the initial few times she first started coming were so heartbreaking. Not in the same way of that memory field opening up. It wasn't hysterical. It was so sad. And it's me looking at me, the dissociated part of me, one of them. And I call her Augie, which is, let me explain, OG, meaning other girl, Og, and then sort of sweetening that with Augie. Hi, Augie. I now say to her, hi, Augie. I'm here. I'm here and I'm not leaving you. I'm here. And you know what? Today she came in and made more aware contact with me at the end of about an hour of meditation. I wasn't looking for it. These things just happen, after I've been in a certain brainwave state for a certain amount of time, and probably an hour is standard. Things start emerging from the depths of me. And she presented, and she doesn't know she doesn't have language at all. She has mama, and she's really excited, and she was doing that really fast and rocking, and but she bangs her head into my like around my sternum, because that's where she kind of comes up to. It's like there. I'm kind of tall, and that's kind of her way of making contact. She doesn't know she doesn't seem like she has use of her hands, and in truth, she would have been completely disabled during, periods of when she was caged and everything that happened to her. Of course she was. But we're not actually seeing mental retardation. We're seeing the effects of mind control on a child. And I think that was what was the most heartbreaking was, this isn't just me. This is so many kids out there, and my heart is an ocean of pain. It's horrible. Ocean of pain. That this has been going on like this for so many decades. And kind of all these silent victims of it that have had no voice. And so many of the people it's happened to don't even know it's happened to them. That is, again, how seamless the technology is when they wipe your mind and do the kinds of things that they do. So she is me, and we are definitely on a healing path. And she's like, I think she helped me do this video today, for sure. I was checking in with her before I press play, in fact. So she's alive, and it's alive in my awareness, where she wasn't before. And it's in this way that the dissociated parts come home. In a way, she's very real and an autonomous being on her own. But she's also a lost part. And I could never have retrieved her if these memories around the satanic ritual abuse didn't come in. So it's a win-win, it's really, to me, this is golden. It's this, if we talk about, if we speak in terms of soul retrieval, this work with these parts and the altars and the inner children it is shamanic work. It is going down. We could talk about going down into the lower realm, coming back with the gift and being able to better connect with the higher realm as a result. So it's really powerful. It's very powerful. And I'm always continuing to help myself and also helping others with this kind of work. It's been also a huge gift, that I can not just help me, but help other people. My experience has been valuable to somebody else. Well, wow. So, yeah, it's all life expansive in the end. And that's the final takeaway is, when I said at the beginning, why am I talking about this? What is the point? Expanding life and taking back our collective codes of life and the living life force of the co-creative collective mind stream connected to the co-creative universe. That's what we're doing here together. So in the end, again, this isn't a story of darkness, it's a story of light. So holding this into the light during our hour together here. Thank you. Oh, yeah, dedicating the, in my spiritual tradition, we often say dedicating the merit of the practice or the meditation. Well, in this case, I would say dedicating our time here together in this dialogue to the liberation of our world from dark forces, and also to the healing of the children who have been subjected to this over many years. And perhaps right now in this moment, this is for them. So if you like this video, gosh, thank you. Gosh, thank you. Please like and share and comment. I'm trying to grow my little channel, and I know you guys are helping. And you can also, my website is linked below. If you want to book an inner child session or an astral journey or a reading with me, you can certainly do that. Wow, thank you so much for holding space. This has been very transformative for me. Yeah, thank you. Our collective voice is becoming free. Signing off, Sirius Blue.